I'm going to talk about the multiplayer of 2016's Doom. I really like this game, and I think it is the best modern multiplayer shooter currently available on the market. Unfortunately, this game is really underrated, and when it came out, it was a very different game than it is today, and I feel that's part of the reason why it's sort of overlooked as a whole. So before I get into all of that, let's start with a little bit of background. Doom released in May of 2016, and everybody agrees that the best part about the game is the single-player campaign. It brings back that feel of old school gaming where you are not restricted the way you are in a modern multiplayer shooter or in a modern shooter. You can run at full speed at all times. The player character does not regenerate health. You have to pick it up. You can carry all the primary weapons on your character at the same time. The design philosophy that id Software went into while making this game was no BS, just shooting. And it worked. The gaming community loved that game. Unfortunately, the same love was not given to the multiplayer, which many consider a bad fusion of old school shooter sensibility and modern gameplay mechanics. Part of the reason for that, I think, is that id Software, the developers of the single-player campaign, were not directly involved in the development of the multiplayer. That was given to a third-party developer who had basically assisted with the multiplayer on other franchises like the Halo games and the Call of Duty games, and unfortunately you can see that influence in the multiplayer of Doom. So the design philosophy in the multiplayer does not have weapon pickups. Instead, you are restricted to a loadout system. You can only carry 2 weapons at a time instead of the entire arsenal the way you can in the single-player campaign. There is some weird hack module perk system which is random per spawn. The way you get more weapons into your loadout is by leveling up at the end of each match, but at the end of each match the rewards were randomized. So that led to a frustrating system overall, and that is where gamers as a whole kind of dismiss this game as, oh, a bad Call of Duty clone and something that's not Doom. That backlash prompted the developers at id Software to take over the development of the multiplayer mode and to retool it to something that actually fit players' expectations. In August of 2017, they released update 6.66, which made all the DLC free, which completely revamped the progression system so that it was more predictable or completely predictable. It redid the perk system so the hack modules were no longer random, and in fact, they're not even that powerful anymore. Unfortunately, you are still restricted to a 2-weapon limit, but most of the weapons have been rebalanced so that there's nothing that stand out overpowered anymore. So that's enough of the background. All these changes ended up making Doom a much better game than it was at launch. It's still not perfect. It's still not that hardcore deathmatch that Doom and Quake have been known for since the late 90s. However, it is far and away better than every other game on the market. In fact, I think the closest competition it has is Quake Champions, but Quake Champions is PC exclusive, and more on that later. But my favorite thing about Doom is that death is not random. It's not like Call of Duty where a kill streak can unavoidably kill you, or like in Battlefield where a tank or an airplane or a sniper from 1,000 miles away can take off your head. In Doom, if you die, it is only because you got outplayed by your opponent. You still get shot in the back a lot, however in this game you can simply turn around and shoot your opponent again. It's got a health and armor system which, while not perfect, it gives you greater survivability as opposed to a Call of Duty or a Battlefield or other modern shooter game where the time to kill is so low that if you get shot in the back, you're basically dead. Now, Doom, even though it doesn't have weapon pickups, it has certain pickup power weapons on the map which you can pick up. The BFG, the Gauss rifle, it also has quad damage and demon runes. And a lot of people criticized these that said, oh, the demon runes are too powerful, the demon runes are like kill streaks in Call of Duty, and maybe that was what it was in the beginning, but now it is totally not like that. In fact, the demon runes are the best part of the game. When one spawns, when the announcer announces Demon Rune incoming, suddenly everyone on the map makes a mad dash towards the Demon Rune. It ends up creating a type of objective play that is more organic and more fun than, for example, Battlefield. In Battlefield, no one plays the objectives because the objectives don't do anything. They just kind of sit there and passively accrue points until one team wins. In Doom, everybody wants to go get a Demon Rune because a Demon Rune makes you more powerful. And the other team that doesn't have the Demon Rune, instead of running away and trying to survive, actively rushes towards the enemy demon and tries to blow it up in the shortest time possible. I've gone on death streaks in Doom where I would die for 5 or 6 times continuously and it wouldn't even bother me. Part of that is because when you come back, the announcer yells "come back," which is actually really satisfying, but also because you could then go on a 5 or 6 kill streak and not even notice it because the game is that fast and that fluid. You respawn so fast after dying that you're not sitting there in like a loadout screen thinking, oh, if only I'd done this, oh, if I only I'd done that. You jump straight back into the action and your enemy could be right in front of you and suddenly you have to start killing them very quickly all over again. Ironically, one thing nobody criticized this game for was the pickups of the BFG and the Gauss rifle, probably because they look like weapons instead of demon transformations. But essentially they are I win buttons. They do instant kill no matter what your opponent's health and armor is. However, you only get 4 shots and they are weapons, not kill streaks, so you must actually aim with them and actually be good, even though the BFG has a very wide area of effect. In fact, one thing I really liked that they did in this game was they made the Gauss cannon a power weapon. Now, the Gauss cannon is basically a railgun from Quake. And in Quake 2, I felt the railgun sort of ruined the balance of that game. As soon as the railgun spawned on the map, suddenly the whole match became about the railgun. It is an instant hit, high damage sniper weapon, and its only drawback is its long cooldown time. Now, Quake 3 tried to balance that a little by giving it a ridiculously large cooldown time, but essentially what it turned into is that everybody would make an initial shot with the railgun, or if your opponent was far away, you would just shoot him with the railgun, and then switch to something like the machine gun or the lightning gun in order to finish them off. In this game, the Gauss cannon is a power-up, which means only one player can have it at a time. It only has 4 shots, and then once it's gone for another 2 minutes. And I believe that is way more fair than, an ever-present railgun, even though Quake 3 was sort of balanced around the railgun, and it had other options, but there's no denying its popularity, and it's part of the reason why the Insta-Gib mode was so popular in Quake, because people just wanted to shoot people and kill them instantly with the railgun. And now, since I've been alluding to it, I might as well get into it. This game is not Quake, and it will never be Quake, unfortunately. I think after Quake 3 was released in 1999 or 2000, it overshadowed every multiplayer shooter and every id Software game since then. id Software has been living in the shadow of Quake 3 since its release. Quake 4 was just a rehashed Quake 3. The multiplayer of Doom was just a rehashed Quake 3. They never topped it. In fact, most other publishers didn't even try. Call of Duty did something else by restricting the player instead of granting him the freedom of Quake. Halo did something else by making the game simpler and easier to play, instead of the high skill requirements of Quake. And this game sort of borrows that knowledge and tries to mix it with the formula of the Quake deathmatch. And now, while the experiment may not have been perfect, I think it is still very fun, and if you enjoy that style of gameplay, the style of gameplay where your hand is not held, where your kill streaks aren't given immediately, where your enemy doesn't live forever because he has regenerating health, this is a fun game in order to play. Now, Quake Champions came out. It is PC exclusive, and it is definitely marketed towards that hardcore Quake player. And unfortunately, my problem with it is that it's too much like Quake 3. Just like all the other games I mentioned, Quake 4, Doom 3, Quake Champions never really rises out of the shadow of Quake 3. It is Quake 3 with a couple extra features, with the champion feature and the special ability each champion gets and their extra passive abilities. And that's really it. The moment-to-moment gameplay you'll be seeing is what you played back in 1999. At the high level, there is probably a great difference. At the high level, they probably really care what champion you're using and what strategies to employ with that champion. But at the casual level or at the occasional level, it really doesn't matter if you're playing with Ranger or Doomslayer or Nyx or Anarchy, aside from, you know, their special ability. Another thing I think this game did really well is the game modes. In Quake, there is really only one game mode, which is Deathmatch. Quake Team Arena added, you know, Team Deathmatch and Capture the Flag and a couple other game modes that really didn't get a whole lot of play because Deathmatch was the big seller of that game. In Doom, however, there are a ton of different game modes. You can see in the background right now I'm playing a game mode called Warpath, which is like a moving King of the Hill. There's also Team Deathmatch, which is a lot of fun. There is Skull Tag, which is like you're playing football, but with demon skulls. It's actually a lot of fun and way better than the standard Capture the Flag mode. Ironically, the least played mode is the standard deathmatch, and that's because, one, it wasn't available at launch, and two, it's not even part of the standard map rotation, whereas modes like Team Deathmatch and Warpath are grouped under a search called Team Modes. Deathmatch is grouped under a search called Solo, in which it and one other game mode are the only game types. So no one plays them that much. So the one glaring flaw of this game is the 2-weapon limit. I think I mentioned it like 3 or 4 times already. It sucks. I wish it wasn't in this game. I wish you had a full complement of 8 weapons or the full complement you had in single player. However, the multiplayer mode of this game actually has more weapons than the single player mode. You're just restricted to carrying only 2 of them at a time. In the gameplay you can see I'm using a chain gun and grenade launcher combo. In the previous match I used a rocket launcher and a machine gun, and I will, you know, in different matches use different weapons to sort of experiment and find which weapons I like the best. The metagame of Doom is to switch between your 2 weapons to try and do the most DPS at one time. That's why the static rifle and the shotgun combo is so powerful and is actually one of the more powerful or popular combinations in this game. However, it's fun, it just doesn't give you the type of freedom and the ability to switch between 3 or 4 or however many weapons you want on the fly as you would get in an older shooter. Anyway, that's it for Doom. I hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay in the background, I hope you enjoyed the commentary, and I hope it stoked your interest in this game and in this series as a whole. You don't have to like and subscribe my page. I will probably never come out with another video. So take it for what it's worth. And that's it.
Incoming Gauss cannon. Gauss cannon spawn. Losing zone. Zone lost. Halfway to victory. Enemy demon slain. Capturing zone. Allied Mancubus spawned. Secured zone. Allied demon slain. Enemy Baron spawned. Losing zone. Zone lost. Demon possession ended. Ranger. Incoming gas cannon. Capturing zone. Gauss cannon spawned. $50 points remaining. Gauss cannon dropped. Capturing zone. Points remaining. Enemy reached score limit. Crushing defeat. Two, one. Three teammates remaining. Three enemies remaining. Last man standing. Avenger. Your team has been eliminated. Round lost. Round 3. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Victorious round. Round 4. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Three teammates remaining. Three enemies remaining. Teammate remaining. Your team has been eliminated. Round lost. Round 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One teammate remaining. Your team has been eliminated. Round lost. Round 6. Match point. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. eliminated. Round lost. Crushing defeat. Five, four, three, two, one. Bounty activated. Freeze all your enemies. First blood. Avenger. One teammate remaining. Incoming regeneration. Regeneration spawned. All allies frozen. Round lost. Round 2. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Teammate remaining. One teammate remaining. All allies frozen. Round lost. Round 3. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remaining. Incoming BFG. BFG spawn. 1 minute remaining. Teammate remaining. All allies frozen. Round lost. 30 seconds remaining. Round 4. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One teammate remaining. All allies frozen. Round lost. Round 5. Match point. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remaining. Incoming BFG. One teammate remaining. BFG spawned. One teammate remaining. All allies frozen. Round lost. Crushing defeat.